para sa isang mas komprehensibong paghimay sa nakaraang SONA. Pagkakasama natin ang isang political science professor mula sa University of the Philippines at yan si Professor Jean Franco. Magandang umaga po, Professor.
Hi, good morning.
So, Professor, what can you say about yung fourth SONA ng ating Pangulo?
For one, it's actually the longest SONA, I think, of sitting president since 1986. There were a lot of statistics, so talagang information overload. But then, you know, as what the others are also saying, parang walang very clear strategy on job creation. But that does not mean that the administration does not have a clear strategy. It's just that it was not included. You know what I mean? Because SONA is not just a technical speech. It's also a very political speech. So people are, you know, expecting a lot from it. And yeah, well, there are a lot of policies that were identified. It was not very clear, at least on the part of the public, how will this create jobs?
Yes.
So I guess it has to be made clear how a cabotage law, for instance, would, or the repeal of the cabotage law, for instance, would lead to job creation.
So, ma'am, with all these that you've mentioned already, can we look at it on another point naman po? Ano naman po yung mga, kumbaga, yung mga good points po na nailabas ng Pangulo tungkol sa kanyang administrasyon nga po?
Well, I guess the fact that he used case studies of people to highlight model public servants is one, no? But then again, if you think about it more deeply, sometimes, you know, valorizing these people, like for instance the police, I think na, isn't it supposed to be their job? Diba? So parang ganon. And halimbawa, si Mr. Jesse Robredo, I have no doubt that he's a good, dedicated, committed he was a good, committed, dedicated public servant. It's just that if, you know, we cannot rely on the goodness of people every time. The only thing that will sustain, you know, people's behavior, if you want them to change their behavior, are good institutions. Solid institutions that would rein in people who are corrupt or who are wayward in terms of serving the public.
Yes.
And speaking of institutions, what can you say about our president calling out the institutions, the, what do you call it?
Actually, the different agencies po,
Yeah,
actually,
the different
NIA,
agencies.
the immigration, the BOC.
Yes.
How does this turn out? What is your reaction about this naman po?
I think that only goes to show that primarily the president's audience, I mean, that part of the speech was directed to the people, that, hey, I'm relentless in my fight against corruption, which I think is the reason why he still enjoys a very high approval rating, no? So ganon, ano? But then the trouble with that strategy is that while it might endear him to people more, the trouble with that is that look at what happened, no? Biazon resigned and then he said that he still has confidence on Biazon. So parang medyo mixed signal kasi when you actually sort of put the agency to task, it's but natural that the person who is most accountable would be the head of the agency.
Yes. Ito, ma'am, matanong ka naman po on a different aspect also of the SONA. What is your reaction na people find the SONA as like a red carpet event, kumbaga na parang pagandahan at pabonggahan ng kanilang mga
ranking ata ng mga ternos.
Yes. O ito mo, mag-picture sila, makita sa news na parang this dress designed by ganyan is worn by this certain or certain political official. How do you react to this? Parang, is this a good thing po ba na parang they're using the SONA as an excuse for them to use or buy expensive clothes and ramp it off in front of the public?
No, it's not a good thing, but then again, it's very cultural. You know what I mean? It's very Filipino to look at it as some form of a fiesta or a Santa Cruzan for that matter. Secondly, I also look at it in terms of the gender dimension, in the sense that you don't normally, look at the clothes of male politicians. You usually look at the clothes of women politicians.
Sa bagay, pag guys naman po kasi nakabarong
Barong lang,
lang. It all
no?
looks the same.
Kaya
Actually.
nga eh. But then, that trivializes women's participation in politics as if it's more important. I mean, the clothes they're wearing are more important than what they have to say about the SONA or about governance. Diba?
And of course, during the SONA, hindi rin mawawala yung mga nagpo-protesta sa labas. What can you say about, is this still an effective means of being heard?
Well, kasi that's their job, no? And their framework is really that every government would really be the agent of capitalism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, kahit na sino pang ilagay mo dyan, they would definitely be on the streets. But then again, considering that we don't have a marked opposition nowadays, these protests are very good in the sense that there's still democracy.
Yes.
You cannot, even if we have a president who is enjoying obviously very high approval ratings, we still need to put him to task for things that he hasn't done. So it's good for a healthy democracy to have these protests.
Yes. Ma'am, with all the things that we mentioned about in the SONA as well, ano po yung mga things naman po na kailangan po sigurong i-maintain or i-improve on po ng Administrasyong Aquino at syempre ng Pangulo mismo?
Well, I guess he has to look for somebody who is better at weaving his speeches into one coherent, statement or report to the entire nation. Kasi obviously, di ba, as the usual practice, the State of the Nation address is culled out from all the contributions that come from the different agencies, and somebody will put them together. But then my take on the SONA, in terms of a speech, a political speech, is that it was not very coherent. Yung hindi siya very thematic. It's not actually the fault of the president, but people who who are behind the president, who are supposed to, outline and make the speech a coherent way of reporting to the nation.
Yes, ma'am, siguro yung nangyari nga po dito is parang na-state nga po per agency, Carla, di ba, na parang ito yung achievement. Now, if you had it your way, how would you have probably made the speech? Like, ano po ba yung mas tamang way na para isulat ito sa inyo pong pananaw?
Of course, I totally subscribe to the response of Malacanang, saying that we cannot put everything in a speech. But then again, it's just a matter of looking at it from the perspective of what has happened within the last 3 or 6 months that really really captured the public's imagination or really agitated the public, such as persistent high inequality, unemployment, the rift with China, for instance.
Yes.
So you can structure the speech in this manner, and parang yun yung frame mo. That's the frame within which you will call out the report from the agency. So if you're saying that the cabotage law will be repealed, how will this lead to job creation? If you're saying that these are the services that we have improved on, like yung healthcare, then how will this lead to not only better healthcare provision, but it will lessen the out-of-pocket expenses of ordinary people. Yung ganun ba?
But then aside from the content, let's talk about the delivery. President Aquino is the only one who delivers the SONA in pure, and also he doesn't read. Parang, does this contribute to his sincerity towards the people?
Yes, definitely. Of course, he has to package himself as somebody who's close to the masses, because the usual perception is, he belongs to the country's elite. And I guess it's very good. In fact, the Filipino that he uses is colloquial Filipino. It's not the Filipino that's, yung malalim, the one that we see on textbooks.
Yes.
So it's very colloquial. I think it's good.
Yes. Ma'am, tingin niyo po ba, kumbaga, naabot po ng Pangulo yung mga normal individuals, kumbaga, yung mga talagang Pilipino na hindi yung ina-explain niya to sa mga taong edukado, yung tipong lahat po ay naramdaman at naiintindihan po yung kanyang pinagsasabi?
I think hindi nga masyado kasi how will that lead to job creation? Yung mga ganun.
Okay, so Professor, do you have a final message for our viewers?
Well, my final message is that let us not look at the SONA as the be-all and end-all of the President's governance. But, I understand why people expect so much from SONA. It's a yearly report to the nation. But then, patuloy nating bantayan, patuloy nating tingnan kung yung mga pangako ay matutupad. Yun lang naman.
Okay, thank you so much.
That was Professor Jean Encinas-Franco from the University of the Philippines, isang political science professor.